Assalamu alaikum. Hope so you all are doing well. Let's have a look upon Olympiad maths question. You can see a statement here. If 1, x1, x2, x3 are the roots of x4 minus 1 is equals to 0 and omega is a complex cube root of unity, find the value of this one. You have given this term omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. So you need to find out this term. As you can see, the roots are given for this equation x4 minus 1. So I'm going to be starting here. Solution as 1, x1, x2, x3 are the roots of x4 minus 1 is equals to 0. Then I can write it as x4 minus 1 is equals to x minus 1, x minus x1, x minus x2, x minus x3. And I'm gonna naming this equation 1. As they are the roots of this equation, so that means I can write it like this. Now I'm putting x is equals to omega square. So where in this equation there is x, I'm gonna replacing it with omega square power 4 minus 1, omega square minus 1, omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3. That is an equation 2. Again I'm putting x is equals to omega in equation 1. As I did before, I am writing here in equation 1. I put x omega square first in this equation. Now again I'm putting x is equals to omega similarly in this equation. Omega power 4 minus 1, omega minus 1, omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. That is equation 3. Now I have equation 2 this one and equation 3 this one. I am going to divide equation 2 and 3. So I'm going to dividing both of the equations. I'm dividing here. That is omega square power 4 minus 1, the left side, and the here it is omega 4 minus 1. So it is divided by omega 4 minus 1, omega square minus 1, omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus 1, omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. Now here you can see it's omega square power 4. I'm gonna writing it omega 4 square minus 1, omega 4 minus 1. Omega square minus 1 means a square minus b square. That means I can write it as 1 square as well. So it means omega minus 1, omega plus 1. Rest of the term is written as it is. Omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus 1, omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. Omega minus 1 is cancelled out with omega minus 1. Here you can see a square, and similarly I write 1 square, that means b square. So it's a plus b, a minus b, omega 4 minus 1, omega plus 1, omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3, omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. Here you can see negative term is cancelled out with this one. Here omega 4 plus 1 is equals to omega plus 1, omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. I can write omega 4 as omega cube dot omega plus 1. And this omega plus 1 on this side, I'm going to taking it here and divide down this one. On the left side, omega plus 1. That is equals to omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. As we know, omega cube is equals to omega cube is equals to 1. So I'm going to writing 1 dot omega plus 1, omega plus 1. Similarly, this term again. 1 time omega means omega plus 1 divided by omega plus 1 is equals to omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. So they both are cancelled out and they are left only 1. So 1 is equals to omega square minus x1, omega square minus x2, omega square minus x3 divided by omega minus x1, omega minus x2, omega minus x3. Here you can see this is the final answer. As we know, we have to find out the value for this one, and you can find out here that is equals to 1. So this is the final answer.